All right, friends. I broke out the big guns for you guys together today with the wine. Big guns today. So I was up in New York yesterday. Was able to get my wine textbooks, which is quite nice. So I got a Barbera d'Alba here today. Barbera d'Alba, Barbera d'Asti. So you can see here's a map. Here's a map of it. So this we're in the Piemonte region here. All right, the Piemonte region. And you can see Barbera d'Alba is right here. This is maybe not going to make a ton of sense for people, but this is a topographical map, and it shows all these different areas. Got the encyclopedia out here, so we're trying to give you guys just a little bit of extra details here because I know some of you really enjoy the wine sessions. So just real quick, Barbera d'Alba. Barbera d'Alba. This is a Piemontese grape, Barbera. Uh, the two big grapes or two big wines known in Piemonte are Barolo, known as the king, and Barbaresco, known as the queen. They both use Nebbiolo. Nebbiolo is wonderful grape. I'm a big fan of Nebbiolo. Lot of tartness. Has enormous aging potential. Barbera d'Alba and Barbera d'Asti, the two main areas that it comes from, get a lot more of a. They're considered a little bit closer to peasant wine, at least traditionally. They don't have really much tannin, just a little bit of tannin. And they're traditionally made to be just very simple, like a pizza kind of wine. Now, they've been adding a lot of more like newer, bigger ones because it has good acidity, like adding a lot of oak to it. And so these things can age a lot longer. But Barbera is sort of like the mid tier, but still traditionally a little bit on the lower importance. Dolcetto is the final one, and that requires the least amount of time to ripen. So they would throw that in the worst plot. So that's kind of how it looks. The best parts, the best plots were given to Nebbiolo because it needed the most time. Then it went to Barbera, then it went to Dolcetto. So you see this a lot in wine regions where you see the best grapes kind of require a little bit of require the best locations to reach their full potential. So anyway, I am not wanting girl. I already have a girl. So let's jump into the content portion of here. So I had a question the other day about women and what older women and getting jealous about younger women, right? Getting jealous, like, well, what happens if when you break? What happens when a woman gets broken up with and her ex, the guy, ends up dating this younger, more attractive woman? Well, I mean, to say in most cases, I think, as you can imagine, the response isn't very positive. Women generally do not, hey from Haddonfield. They generally do not take it very they're not very happy when when their ex has now ended up with this younger, more attractive girl. But so you have to ask yourself, like, about a lot of the reasons behind this, about what sort of stuff is going on, and why did a woman get in that situation to begin with? And this is important because a lot of women, when they find themselves in this position where their ex is with a younger, more attractive girl, not always, because a lot of times maybe the guy has his own sort of issue here, but a lot of times these women, I mean, relationships didn't end. It didn't get to that point just on a whim. Usually what happens is there's some sort of disconnect that's happening over the years between the guy and his girl. Maybe she's nagging him more and more and more. He doesn't feel respected and appreciated. And then this younger, more attractive woman comes around, and so he ditches her and he goes for that. And so the other woman's bitter, but she was arguably bitter beforehand, just under a different context. Now, there's a corollary to this, right? Because we have this whole thing, and a lot of people in this corner like to elevate the idea of, like, well, he's getting the better woman, the younger woman. But I don't think that, from a biological correct, but there is a lot that women can offer men as they get older that is not simply just limited to fertility and in sort of the youthful beauty. There's a way to age gracefully as a woman. And what women, and I think you can go back further in society to see how this was apparent. I mean, obviously there was value to women as being mothers, But the oracles, the prophets, the sources of wisdom that men would go to were women. And I think when women get very, very grounded in themselves, let's see, here's one of the things. When I see so many women, they just don't know how to age gracefully. They start to, first, they deny the power of their youth. They deny that. And that's the first mistake, because understanding that women value such things and that is in their most automatic period of influence, you have to have a good relationship with the truth as a woman. So as you get older, what a lot of women do is that they're going to try to force that. They're going to get either bitter and in denial about that part of their life fading, that they don't have the same power over men with their looks as they used to. But beyond that, you can see that they start to escape. So they'll start to get, maybe drink a little bit too much wine, and they just start to get really harpies, and they become like nags. And you've seen it. You've seen a lot of older women, and they become this, like, the archetype of the crone, right? This like woman who just is filled with bitterness and resentment. And a lot of that is unconsciously due to having lost her peak years. But there are other women that are completely different. They're just completely radiant as they get older. And that's because they accept the changing position of their power. They don't attempt to pull men in with their wiles. They might know, and they might be very open about and comfortable with their sexual energy, but they don't pretend that this is something that they have, that they're going to have the same sort of influence as a younger woman. Where they leverage for a guy is the wisdom. And powerful, great men are drawn to women like this because this is a very, very rare gift that women have. Most women are too caught up in the superficial, including about themselves, to be able to tap into this sort of, it's almost like a Mother Earth sort of sense of wisdom, that they can provide all this guidance to great men. And this is what a lot of, like, I know, we have a lot of counter narrative stuff here, which is great. Pushing back against the sort of meme that, like, age doesn't matter for women and blah, blah, blah. But you just can't, like, I used to do investigations on CEOs, like guys going through, marrying, having mistresses, getting divorced, having, look, I think for some guys, maybe they enjoy it for a bit, but most of what I saw was guys who didn't have a woman in their life that provided this sense of wisdom, someone who they wouldn't just be able to grow older with, but someone who would really help to keep them on the correct trajectory towards greatness. And it's a quality that I don't think is very much talked about when we talk about choosing women. But choosing a woman who's not just going to be there to support you, but is going to be there to help you stay on the correct path and make the correct judgment calls. I think it's a meme, this whole thing about, or maybe it's not a meme, but I don't think it's healthy to sort of push this level of compartmentalization in relationships, where the woman is almost sort of looked at as this sort of drone-like creature. I mean, that she's like, oh, she's the mother, and she's going to do this, and she's going to just be here for every, she's gonna take care of all like the house stuff. And I mean, yeah, you can get that, and that's nice stuff. But like, on thinking on a higher level, like, what you want is a woman who has wisdom, someone who is able to pierce through the bullshit. So anyway, that's some of the stuff. That I've been thinking about recently, because I think we need to bring a lot of that back. Most of the wise women I've seen have actually been out in semi, sorry, I don't really like to do the mic and stuff. It's always kind of weird and awkward. But if you have a comment, you can comment in here, and I'll speak to it. We'd love to hear your perspective. So I don't even know who the fuck this person is. So anyway, I think it's a powerful topic to talk about. A lot of the women who I've met who have had this stuff are usually out actually in a lot of these like spirituality communities. They don't have everything together, but they do have this sense of connectedness and a real sense of awareness. That's very interesting. It's like a Cassandra, right? The famous Greek Cassandra. So anyway, what you guys got some comments here? What are some thoughts? What are some thoughts that you have on this topic when it comes to choosing women? When it comes to jealousy, we could talk a little bit about jealousy. That's something we could talk a little bit more about. You know, a lot of there's some people talk about how jealousy is a good thing. I think that jealousy it's a mixed bag, right? I think in a healthy dynamic, you can understand each other's value without getting jealous. So there's a lot of women who are perhaps they have the potential for wisdom. Maybe they're like intuitive, but the problem with a lot of intuitives, and this goes for men and women, is that they can become very perceptive, but they lack the requisite grounding and experience to actually be of value, and they haven't done enough introspection to their own baggage. So I see this with a lot of intuitive women who are at once able to see some things very, very clearly, but sort of miss the forest through the trees because there's too many blockages that are going on with them, which is one of the things. I mean, a lot of wisdom is really just it's not adding, it's eliminating. That's why wisdom and intelligence are quite different. Intelligence is knowledge or the ability to analyze and utilize knowledge, whereas wisdom is almost like elimination down to the essentials. It's the ability to see clearly through noise and to dismiss noise. And that's why wisdom tends to come with age and experience. You can have a proclivity towards being wise faster, perhaps, but wisdom can only come with experience. There's no, and this is the problem with a lot of like, you know, a lot of like the kind of hippie girls who are young and they have all these feelings, but they're really just, most of them are escaping from real world stuff. The women who have really, really a lot of grounded wisdom have gone out and they've experienced some crazy things in life. Um, so yeah, it's the you notice that immaturity with women tends to come from the sheltering, but there's a lot of ways that a woman can be sheltered. She can be sheltered in like a very excessively controlling trad family, or she can be sheltered in some in communities that are like they don't want everyone to be protected emotionally. It's kind of ridiculous. It's kind of ridiculous. So, but yeah, I want to riff a little bit off of jealousy because actually this is a kind of interesting topic. So there's a lot of talk about how jealousy is a good thing in relationships, and you want to have some jealousy, and I understand the intention for that. I understand the intention, but high vibration relationships, like jealousy is a low vibration emotion. Jealousy is close to fear. It's envy. Really, it's what it is. It's envy. You are worried, you are afraid someone else is going to take something that you want, or jealousy is low vibration. It's at the very least it's middle. I mean, it's a low vibration emotion, but plenty of average people of course feel it, but it's a product of fear. Fear is at the basis of jealousy because it's scarcity. It's the sense that, oh, someone's going to take it, which is why, not that I think it's usually represented like this in practice, but I understand the theory behind why polyamory, for instance, could be, some people like to talk about it as a high vibration thing because it's great timing on the question. So I get it. And I know that there's a term that the polyamorous community uses called compersion, which is sort of like the opposite of schadenfreude, which is like taking pleasure in someone else's pleasure. The issue, I'll talk about polyamory in a second, but so I understand in theory why it could be a high vibration thing to be polyamorous because you don't have jealousy, right? But the reality is that they're often very, very much what they actually usually do is they don't get rid of jealousy so much as they sublimate it with lust. And so what tends to happen is that they take the person that they're with, and in order to not feel jealousy, they do a level of compartmentalization where they sexualize the other person being sexual with somebody else, and I can just tell you also from a practical perspective, I haven't seen many examples of it really working. There's usually other things that are going on. One party has a lot more power than the other in the dynamic. And I have found that they tend to share a lot more than regular couples, actually. The healthiest couples, not necessarily, but most couples, they tend to share more than most couples because they have to constantly go and communicate through things. But the problem is that it seems like despite doing all of this, they still don't lean into each other that much. It's almost like they communicate with each other to rationalize being with other people. It's like, so, oh, we've communicated everything, but there's an implicit bond that is not there as much. And you see this implicitly because they tend to fragment. Is Esther Perel that Argentine feminist? It's been a long time. I'm not sure if I've read her or not. So I've been very, when I say Argentine feminist, I mean she was actually anti-feminist, but I can't recall though. But I've read a lot of the books on the Alabaster Woman, and look, I think that they're not sustainable models anyway. I'm gonna have a post coming out about this pretty soon. I can tell you I've never seen. I think it works for some people, but it works in certain contexts. So in the context of, for instance, one of the parties is divorced, so like they don't have the children there full time. That's always a major prerequisite. If there's children in the family from the two parties that are polyamorous, it never, like, full time. It always explodes in some way or another. It's like, well, where's dad? Where's mom? Right? That's like swinging is much more sustainable. For instance, like swinging, you go on a retreat for a weekend and you go to a hotel room and you have sex with a bunch of strangers. Like, people could do that and it wouldn't affect the rest of their life. But trying to be polyamorous with children in the household is just absolutely ridiculous. The level to which you'd fuck up the children, and people can say this is offensive to the poly community. Show me a fucking instance of it working, because I haven't seen it. Oh, that's Esther Villar. Thank you, Riv. Yeah. So I don't see it now. I think it's interesting. I actually don't care that people have experimented with it, but I think that people, they need to stop. They need to be more honest about what it is. It's a niche lifestyle for some people that probably shouldn't be propagandized, and because it's not sustainable on a structural level. And I've seen zero evidence. I've really kept an open mind with it. I've seen zero evidence it's sustainable on a macro level. I mean, just no one would have any children. And with respect to, for instance, Jeffrey Miller, who I think is a good guy, and I think he has some dissonance here, and he's trying to reconcile it when he's talking about natalism and polyamory and how to make them, together. I mean, show me the example of it actually happening. Polygamy is certainly much more sustainable than polyamory. Any sort of polyandrous or any sort of community that segments women and allows them to have multiple male partners. I think there's only been one exception, and it had to do with hereditary land titles in Nepal or something like that. It was a very, very niche tribe in Nepal. It's nothing that any real civilization has ever been able to manage. That said, polygamy is not healthy either, because you have very low parental investment in the children. And there's a reason, guys. Look, there's a reason that successful societies have followed certain models. Even with Islam, for instance, people talk about polygamy today, but Islam is actually, for the context of that time period when Islam was created, it was actually a massive reform. A lot of people don't know this, but like, I took Arabic for 2 years. I was Middle Eastern Studies minor at Penn. So I have a little bit of background, guys. You got my credentials? You got my credentials here? I just credential checked you guys. So just, now you can't mess with my credentials. No, but I mean, actually, to be fair, people who criticize Islam for that, in the context of the Arabian Peninsula at the time, you had just complete mayhem, and you had men with sometimes 10 wives, and they were really more like concubines, and nothing was advancing, right? And there was constant warfare between men. So Islam was actually like a massive reform based on what you had for the Arabian tribal culture in the Hijaz area, sort of on the Red Sea. And they basically said, okay, you can get married, you can get a second wife, but you have to be able to provide for both of them, and you have to be able to provide to both of them equally. And you can only have up to 4 wives, right? That was the rule. And it was a way of saying, like, okay, yeah, you can be polygamous, but only if you're really wealthy and you're fair to each of the women. So it's kind of a compromise of sorts. So it's kind of interesting. Um, how is social distancing going on to affect coupling as it carries on in years? Well, I think that there's going to be a baby boom after this. People in relationships that have had problems are going to get, these relationships are going to get better, or they're going to get worse. I think a lot of relationships that were going through a hard time because there was no time for each other. Now they've been forced to spend time with each other and hash some stuff out. I think that they're going to be a lot healthier. I think other ones, there's now really clarity that, hey, what am I doing with this person? There's a pandemic. I'm stuck with this person. I hate this person, or not happy. So you're going to see a lot of clarity is coming out of this period, and um, and I think that a lot of couples are going to, the ones that deal with their issues are going to move forward with things. I think that you could see a lot of marriages, a lot of relationships after this from people who have been talking during the quarantine, and I think a lot of children in the next 9 to 12 months are going to be coming out, which is great, which is great. So yeah, it's interesting times, and it's interesting times we're living in, guys. But I have to tell you, if you're single and you're dating, okay, I know things are a little bit low right now, but what is going to happen when this is all over is next level stuff. I mean, it's going to be a fuck fest, guys. I don't even think that you understand. This is like the end of a war. You feel that there's all this tension in the air, and that tension that is in the air needs to be resolved. I was talking about this on Tiger's Periscope today. We did a little chat. People don't appreciate this is not a very common thing. It's not even just about the fact that women haven't been able to go out, they've been starved of attention, that they haven't been able to socialize, and people want to just party when this is over. But the idea of wanting to party, right? When people drink, what is drinking? Drinking lets out energy, right? This is why a lot of people in spiritual circles don't like alcohol, because alcohol is an energy louche. I understand that. I also think it's fun and it makes great parties, so I tend to balance with it. But after this, the reason that there's such a desire for parties, that people want to go out and party, is because there is all this tension inside of them that needs to be let out. And that tension is not just let out through drinking and partying, but it's also let out through sex and romance. And people are more likely to bond together after this, because we've all collectively were going through something. And so people are going to come together afterwards and they're going to bond. Like after World War II, you had an enormous amount of marriages right after the war, and then a massive baby boom. And it's not going to be quite on that level, but it's going to be substantial after this. It's going to be a big dip upwards. And guys, this is different than, for instance, let's say 9/11 or the financial crisis, because it's actually in some ways what's coming, which is much more than COVID. If you've been watching my other Periscopes, it's more than just attention release from this. It's actually attention release from stuff that's been going on for the last 20 years that's been building up. So after 9/11, there was a lot of tension, but there was never a release. It was kind of like we were blue balled in some sense, and the tension just it ended up being stuck inside of us, right? With the Iraq war, the war on terrorism, just constant bombardments of fear. It's going to be amazing when this stuff is released, when this spiritual war is won. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. So I think that, people have talked about, oh, this is like the end of feminism, and I think it is the end of feminism. And the end of feminism was years ago. Brian, could you repeat your question, because I don't think I understood it before? But feminism's been ending for a while. I mean, you see people, they want to get into a fight about it, but I've been feeling the energy around it. I mean, whenever there's an overcompensation, whenever it's throwing out more in your face, that's a sign of losing. All the effective subversion that's occurred is because it's been underneath the radar. The second it became overt and became a big push, that was a sign that they were in a desperate situation. energetically. Other people consciously don't register that, but it is actually what was going on. And that's why with now it's like when I see the Michigan governor, for instance, doing this crazy stuff, I find it funny. I don't find it scary because it's just nothing's going to happen with it. But we're in a good situation. I'm really excited about all the relationships and stuff that's gonna be coming out of this, because it's wonderful. It's wonderful, guys. Women feminism is dying, but there's a lot of stuff that's here about, how do I put it? People are just trying to come closer together. Like a lot of the bullshit. This is. I mean, I've even had reflection from New York. Like, I feel like this has been good for me, helping to ease me out of the fast paced life of New York City, because a lot of it sometimes feels like, I've been having fun, but it is just kind of like, what are you doing sometimes? You just spend tons of money going out, partying. Um, there's more, right? And I've known that there's more, but like now I know it on even another level than I did before. So let's see what we got from here. Stay safe for you too, man. If I think my girl is clueless about obvious things, am I just being mean, or should I scale up? Well, women grow through praise. Women grow through praise, not through criticism. That doesn't mean that there isn't a place for criticism, but you use criticism to break a bad habit, and you use praise to reinforce a new one. So the question is, unfortunately, what a lot of guys do is they don't put their criticism with boundaries. So then it's just kind of like you're being a dick. You're being sort of almost passive aggressive, not really like firm. And so she sees you just being negative and mean towards her, but she doesn't feel your strength. And so then you do it in my sort of diagnostic profile. I would say that you would diminish comfort and desire at the same time. Whereas if you criticize a very legit, like, hey, this is like your attitude sucks. I'm sick of dealing with your fucking attitude. And you need to get it sorted out, or like this isn't gonna work. And then that's backed up by your actual actions. She actually feels that from you. It's very different. And then when she starts to do differently, she starts to do better, then you give her praise and you reinforce the good behavior. Like for instance, my wife wasn't always doing like ridiculously sweet things for me. She was in the beginning, and then things kind of faded because I had my own issues, and I've learned my own way for this. Talk about this a lot in my masterclass. But when I brought out the good behavior again, I made sure to reinforce it, and now it's wonderful. I'll be working, and she'll come out and bring me lunch, or only sucks when I'm trying to fast, but because it's a nice gesture, I still eat it. But the point is that you want to use criticism to break the bad, use praise to reinforce the good. Now, part of this, though, and I'll make this last point, Brian, because I actually got to run and pick up the family dinner. But the last point here is that you need to think to yourself, are you being like, what you said intellectual deficit, that she's dumb about certain things. What are you expecting from her? This is a problem a lot of modern men have, is they expect their woman to act like a man. And there's this sort of like, oh, why didn't, like, they're actually unconsciously encouraging the woman's masculinity because they're out of place with their own masculinity. So remember, there's a polarization, always has to go one way or another. And so this is an important thing, because things that you're criticizing her for may be things that are silly to criticize her for, things that are more about your own ego. And I don't know the details of that. I mean, I go into that stuff a lot with clients and whatnot, but this is a lot of the things that we get upset about women for are things that, like, we're not being consistent. We want her to be feminine, but then we're like, oh, we didn't analyze all this stuff properly. And look, there's a this isn't like black and white. I mean, I stand by the fact that my first girlfriend, she couldn't figure out how to walk across like one track to another track. Like there's like two trains that were at the exact same spot. She couldn't walk across from one to the other one. She was freaked out. That would be an example of very immature femininity, like unable to create any sort of direction on her own. I maintain that that was a bit too far, a bit too ridiculous. I don't want a woman who is completely incompetent, but you also need to understand what are her gifts, what are the things that she brings to the table, what are the things that you really care about, because she's not a dude, and if your emphasis is on feminine things, feminine gifts, then that should be what you emphasize on trying to grow and save the masculine leadership for yourself. Stop pursuing a girl because of slow reply texting. Now she wants to talk. Yeah, well, I would say to that, man, I mean, I do talk about texting a lot in my book, and there are aspects in there that show you how to convert sort of like, and try to get her to be responsive. But I agree on a fundamental level from a strategic position. If she's really interested, she's not going to play that many games. And the strategic imperative, guys, is always your self respect. You could have this tactic or that tactic to get you, you could try to get a result, but you have to always ask yourself, like, what kind of girl are you even trying to get? They're usually pretty crap if you have to work that hard, or you fucked up from the very beginning with creating attraction, and it's just not worth it to try to chase like that. So, all right, guys, I'll see you later.